Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So, we're going to start this series. I read this book when I was 23 and I read it at work. I didn't annotate that much and so I want to read it again. It's very interesting, thought-provoking. A lot of people talk about Machiavelli, but they haven't actually read anything about him. So, what's good is we will read this book, which is The Prince and Other Writings, and we will actually have some factual information concerning him, and not just what Hollywood and rappers say about him. That doesn't mean he was perfect in his morality. However, it is beneficial to understand his mindset. Okay, chapter 1. How many kinds of states there are, and in what ways they are acquired. All right. Great titles, right? All states and dominions that hold or have held sway over men are either republics or principalities. So that's powerful right there. Either republics or principalities. Principalities are either hereditary ones, in which the family of their rulers has been in power for many years, or they are new. The ones are either entirely new, as was in Milan to Francesco Sportza, or they are like new members added onto the hereditary state of the prince who acquires them, as in the kingdom of Naples for the king of Spain. So here, what's great about his works is you're going to learn a lot about Italian history, and we Italians, we often neglect our history, right? So it's great to learn about Italy's relationship with Spain and that whole era, right? So the kingdom of Naples and Milan, which is, hey, it's like my name. The dominions thus acquired have either been accustomed to the rule of a prince, or else they are used to being free states. Very important distinction here, right? So ruler by the monarchy or free states in a republic. It's really interesting because America wanted to be a republic, constitutional republic, not a democracy. We were not a direct democracy, we were a constitutional republic, and little by little, the direct democracy aspect has come in, which is being replaced with soft communism from a Marxist angle. But free states versus a monarchy, right? America, trying to separate itself from Britain, stuff like that. And they're acquired either with the arms of others or with one's own. Perfect, right? So how do you get it? Your own military, or you hire mercenaries, or your allies give you some troops to an abundant degree, right? Someone bank rolls you into getting that. Either by fortune or by prowess, virtue. Ha 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 ha. Think about that. So the money aspect, or just your soldiers is just slicing and ricing, as Genghis Khan's did, right? Now, there's a really good notes in this book. So, Francesco Sportza, 1401 to 1466, was a professional soldier who served initially in the Visconti family that ruled Milan, and later the republic that was created when the Visconti line died out in 1447. He made himself the ruler of the city-state in 1450. So notice this city-state, right? And he said the Visconti line, and it died out in 1447, which was a big deal, right? You wanted to have this sort of patriarchal inheritance in your family. The kingdom of Naples, which included southern Italy and Sicily, was captured by King Ferdinand II of Aragon, 1452, 1516, and 1503. So look at that. King Ferdinand of Aragon busts into the southern part of Italy in 1503. So already we should be realizing that the territory of Milan and the territory of Naples, okay? And my family is from southern Italy, Calabria, which is above Sicily, and the Moors and others have a big history with southern Italy, as well as Egypt and Algeria being right close to there on the end of the boot, on the toe, as they say. So Francesco Sportza, perfect. All right. Chapter 2, on hereditary principalities. I will not speak here of republics because I have discussed them fully elsewhere. I will do only with principalities, and following the order described above, I will show how those principalities can be governed and maintained. Okay, so we're going to see how you can rule these principalities. Let's see what he says. Very useful for political science majors, by the way. I say then that in hereditary states, accustomed to the family of their prince, there are far fewer difficulties in maintaining them than in new ones. So notice this. So hereditary states that already have their family lines established, they're already used to a prince, there are not as many difficulties and upkeep. But in new ones, well, new alliances must be forged and foundations must be set for the building to begin, right? For it is sufficient merely not to neglect ancient customs and to accommodate oneself to unexpected events. So notice this. Accommodate yourself to unexpected events and don't neglect ancient customs in a way that is going to cause some issues. Because if you're new and you're trying to totally demolish the system that was, it might pit people against you in the aristocracy, which will make it quite hard for a hereditary state to handle, because they're used to a certain set of dogmas. In this way, if such a prince is ordinarily industrious, he will always be able to maintain his state unless a very extraordinary and excessive force deprives him of it. So notice this. This is quite brilliant. So a prince who is industrious, so focusing on jobs, focusing on infrastructure, not just lavish spending and enjoyment, not being a Caligula or a Caracalla, but rather a true Caesar doing public works. And even if he is deprived of it, when the slightest misfortune happens to the occupier, he will be able to regain it. So notice this. The occupier, the person who is trying to use excessive force upon him to deprive him of him being able to carry out his industrious duties, when a misfortune happens, the prince who is wise will definitely be able to regain it because he'll see that opening, right? Very potent. We have in Italy, for example, the Duke of Ferrara, who was able to withstand the assaults of the Venetians in 1484 and those of Pope Julius in 1510 for no other reason than because of the antiquity of his family in that state. Look at that. We should totally read a book on that pope. So Pope Julius in 1510 comes over to the Duke of Ferrara in Italy, and he tries to take it from him and doesn't succeed. So, wow. The Venetians bring on an assault in 1484. Wow. So again, remember, we have the Venetians, Napoli, Milan, Florence, and Venice, and Rome. So, city-states. Italy was not always so united in making pizza and pasta, and drinking espresso, and wearing overly tight pants. There was a time when Italians had to do a lot more than that, Inasmuch as the legitimate prince has fewer reasons and less need to harm his subject. Less need to harm his subjects. It follows that they would love him more, and if no extraordinary vices make him hated, it stands to reason that they would be naturally well disposed towards him. So I like this. So a legitimate prince. Look at this word legitimate. How important it is for the ruler to be seen as legitimate. If he is destroying customs and he doesn't really seem industrious and he's not able to rebel excessive force and he doesn't have the trust of the people, and he's causing harm to his subjects by not keeping their areas peace-filled and stable, he's going to have a difficult time here. So it is very true that the less vices a ruler has, they'll be less hated. So a ruler should seek to not have any vices and to get rid of them. So a high moral standard. Not sniffing kids' hairs and having dementia like what America has today. In the long and continuous course of his reign, the memories and causes of innovation will disappear, because one change always creates a projecting stone for attaching another. Oh, yeah, so the continuous course of his reign will definitely help him to have his stone projected, I have to say, because it'll keep going forward. Okay, now there's some interesting notes here. Machiavelli conflates the Duke of Ferrara here. The first, Ercole d'Este, 1471-1505, resisted the Venetians but had to yield to them some of his territory. The second, Alfonso I d'Este, 1486 to 1534, was attacked in 1510 by Pope Julius II and briefly driven out of his territories. When Machiavelli was writing, the Este family had ruled Ferrara for 400 years. Wow. Look at that. So, the Este, E-S-T-E family. So, when he mentions hereditary power, he's not joking. He's really not joking. That is a long line of patriarchal systems, right? Making sure that the men have children, that they have a wife, that they, do their job to their family and to their country, and the people want them to be men and have families so that there can be stability, and keeping up the ancient customs, and keeping with the ancient customs will, help him seem more legitimate and keep extraordinary vices away from him. The people will love him, be more obedient, and he won't have to harm them as much. You can definitely see where he's coming from. It's quite brilliant. So we'll pause there for this one, but man, it is such a great book already, right? It's so good to refresh my memory. Hope you enjoyed.